All right. Going to be doing another comic review from a book sent to me by my friend Chris. Thank you as always, brother. We're going to be talking about Scarlet Witch, the Queen of Chaos. This is volume 5 of Steve Orlando's Scarlet Witch run. Although technically, for some reason, it's renumbered to Scarlet Witch issues 1 through 5 because they stopped they did I hate this. And people wonder why DC has a little more consistency with readers. It's because Marvel does stuff like this, where this is, yes, it is volume 4, it is volume 4 of the Scarlet Witch run, but they renumbered it to Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver for they called it a miniseries when it was just another story arc. Then they went back to this and called it a renumber. And then there's volume 5, so it was 10 issues. And then for the end, quote unquote, end of this storyline, because now we're getting to Steve Orlando doing the Scarlet Witch Sorcerer Supreme comic. Basically, in there, it was in volume 6 called Vision and Scarlet Witch. Yeah. But I digress. So you see what I'm saying? It's stuff like that. Anyway, so it has been a while since I've talked about the Scarlet Witch series, so I might want to, refresh everyone's memory of it. Basically, Wanda has been living in a place called Lotkill and has been alongside Darcy, who has been integrated from the MCU into this series. And essentially what is going on is that she has this thing called the Last Door, and more or less people come through and out of desperation for help. She also has locked away Chthon at the start of this run, which was technically in the Darkhold miniseries. So she locked away Chthon and is now absorbed the power of the Darkhold into herself. So the Darkhold's gone, and Wanda's been this is the thing. I know I just talked about in the Phoenix run, where the one thing everyone does with Jean Grey whenever she becomes the Phoenix is I was so bad as the Phoenix, but I'm more than the Phoenix, and the Phoenix is more. Which again, I thought we were done with that in Fall of X. Comic's still good though, but yeah, it just feels like we kind of run into that whole feel of it all. Again, we just kind of retread water. But here, Steve Orlando's been the only one who's done any damage control for the most part with Wanda. And that's been that's basically been Steve Orlando's comic through and through, is that I'm just doing damage control for a character who has been put through the freaking ringer. So in this storyline, Wanda is just in Lotkill, and it gets invaded by creatures from another universe, led by a being called the Griever. And the Griever is here to just end life. And Wanda is just killed by her. And this leads to Wanda going to an afterlife where she encounters the Griever's sibling, the Queen of Nevers, and is basically look, I'll help you find a way back to your world, but here's the thing, you got to go through the Witch's Road. I can't imagine when this comic was published. Clearly, it was Agatha all along. Anyway, so along the way, Wanda down the Witch's Road. She encounters some enemies that she's battled before, such as Mortawin, who is a creature who tormented her son, and Lore, who is a evil counterpart to her from the West Coast Avengers era. So these are again a lot of stuff. Again, I have to really stress that Steve Orlando really is one of the few people, if not the only person, doing any kind of damage control for Wanda Maximoff, because really he's trying he's legit trying to fix all of the damage, because I don't think people are aware of how much hell Diana went through as a character. I don't think people realize how much damage she's suffered from as a character. But yeah. We also get the return, because Darcy's look, we need to get help, because while Griever took out Wanda and she's in the Witch's Road, Pietro and Polaris are trying to save Lotkill, while Darcy goes to get help from Hexfinder. And Hexfinder was a villain from Volume 2, so we got to call back to that. Yeah, there was a lot with with this storyline. Um, yeah, so that's there is like a second comic involved where after Griever is dealt with, we get a fun story where Wanda teams up with Daredevil in order to find Chthon, who's escaped his bonds. Um, the comic is really solid, and I love, like, again, there's just some great artwork here. Like, let's see, like, what's a solid one I could really show you guys? Like, how bright and vibrant the artwork from. Um, I cannot even begin to pronounce those names, so out of respect for the artist, I am not going to do that, because I'm afraid I'm going to butcher them. It's like stuff like this that's just these massive pages of like bright, vibrant colors, and it's such a splash page of everything you'd want in a comic like this. I really have been like I know I've been and Chris did send me volume 5, so yeah, I'll have the next volume on hand for Scarlet Witch. But I always forget like how good this comic is. Like I genuinely forget how good of a comic the Scarlet Witch like the Steve Orlando Scarlet Witch series is. Every time I come back to it, I was like, oh yeah, I should read that right now. Oh right, I forgot how fun, I forgot how good this is. I think it's an underrated comic at Marvel. I really do think the Orlando's Scarlet Witch is a highly underrated comic at Marvel. And now, granted, it's definitely one I really love. I wouldn't call it my all-time favorite. That title goes to Jed MacKay's Moon Knight, which I really need to get back to, starting with Phases of the Moon Knight, and then the whole thing with Fist of Khonshu. That's another one where it's like, again, I've already talked about the discrepancy of like Marvel renumbering and stuff, but I digress. This series continues to be awesome, just straight up awesome. I can like when I get to volume 5. By then, probably by the time I do the finale, quote unquote, before we get to Sorcerer Supreme Scarlet Witch, will be out. And that so yeah. Chris, as always, thank you again, brother, and I highly recommend this comic. You should go read it. Other than that, if you have read it, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of it. Other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.